नहीं कि एक दूसरे से दूर होती हैं। अब जब एक दूसरे से दूर होती हैं तो एक वैली बनती है,
जमीन निकल आती है,
जमीन में निकल आती है या वैली बन जाती है इस तरह। और सेकंड जो ट्रांसफॉर्म जो है वो एक दूसरे के करीब से गुजरती हैं, खिसकती हैं। मतलब मैं सिंपली बात बताऊं, आज से 5-6-7 हज़ार साल पहले जहां पे पाकिस्तान या इंडिया है वो वहां नहीं थे। ठीक, ये मूव होते होते चेंजिंग्स होती है। जैसे हम रोज पढ़ते हैं कि जी ग्लेशियर पिघल रहे हैं और पानी की सतह जो है मिलीमीटर या सेंटीमीटर हर साल बढ़ती है। दैट मीन कि ये कुदरती फिजिकल एंड केमिकल इफेक्ट्स होते रहते हैं। तो जल्जला बेसिकली दैट रिलीज ऑफ एनर्जी जो कि वेव की शक्ल में आता है और वो आपको डिस्टर्ब करता है। उसके जितना करीब एरिया होगा वो ज्यादा डिस्टर्ब होगा, जितना दूर होगा फिर वो रेक्टर स्केल एक स्केल बनाया गया जिससे हम उसकी वेव्स की स्पीड्स और उसकी वो देखते हैं कि डेंसिटी कितनी है, वो कितना तबाह करती है।
ठीक,
तो ये नॉर्मली जल्जले की थोड़ी बहुत।
रफीक साहब से पूछते हैं, बड़े अच्छे तरीके से एक्सप्लेन किया उन्होंने कि जल्जला क्यों आता है। आप हमें बताइए कि क्या इंसानी कावश में ये मुमकिन है, इज इट पॉसिबल कि हम कोई इस तरह का स्ट्रक्चर, अपना इंजीनियरिंग स्ट्रक्चर जो है बना लें कि वो कम से कम इफेक्ट हो इससे? हम उसको तो नहीं रोक सकते, ना प्रिडिक्ट कर सकते हैं।
बिल्कुल। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, आपने काफी अच्छी तरीके से समझा लिया, पर यानी कि टेक्निकल बातें हैं तो आप स्पीक इन इंग्लिश।
नो प्रॉब्लम।
कबड्डी की बात पड़ेगी मुझे उर्दू में तो मुश्किल हो जाएगा। सो we have to classify earthquakes inland and earthquakes in the sea. So if it's an earthquake in the sea, which is similar to what happened in Japan, then the damage, as we've seen, is not done more or less by the earthquake or the shaking of the buildings, but is more or less done by the water coming into the land. So the way that happens sometimes, as they have described, is that if you have this effect where the two are coming together, so either they're pushing up or one of them is sliding up. So as it slides up, that energy translates into waves, and then waves are into different directions. So because the waves are traveling at a certain high speed, sometimes you get 2 minutes warning, sometimes you get 7 minutes warning or less. I think in Japan they had 7 minutes warning, so some people, when the siren went off, actually run onto the mountain and save themselves at higher ground. So in Japan, America, New Zealand, these three countries are very highly qualified engineers. They actually design all their buildings to withstand the earthquakes. So earthquakes have different rules and regulations how you design them. There are small tremors that you feel. You feel them virtually every month, every week. So we design the building so very minimal damage happens to the building. So for example, the finishes, the plates might fall off, the shelves. So that sort of energy release is, we expect that if the buildings are designed to withstand that they can be repaired. The second is where the energy, the Richter scale is between say 7 or 8, where the main frame of the building must stay in place. The windows or the brickwork may fall off, and the main frame or the other structure can be repaired. The third is where what's happened in Japan, where the buildings are designed to be severely damaged, but the main structure of the building must stay in place to give people enough time to escape. So the building may not be able to repair themselves, so you may have to demolish the buildings. So what happened in Japan, you saw in the films and etc., majority of the taller buildings, there's concrete frame or steel frame, they stayed in place because it's designed, especially in Japan, to withstand the force of the magnitude of the earthquake. The only building that actually moved or floated away is because in Japan, the majority of the houses are built with timber. So as the water came, they actually carried it through with it. They floated through with it. And all the buildings that were built with steel and concrete frame, the water took all the windows and walls away, but the main frame itself had stayed there. So, contrary to that, what happened in Pakistan, where the buildings are built with mud or a brick, and they are not designed to withstand the magnitude of the earth. So what happens is that when the earthquake happens, everything falls through. So we design the buildings that if when the earthquake happens, the building shakes like this, So the majority of the forces then travel from top down onto the foundations. So when these forces occur, so the columns or the supporting structure shakes with it, and it just tears off. It's like more like snapping the stick in two. So we have to make sure that the main supporting structure is designed to withstand this magnitude. Now, in this country, in UK, really we don't design buildings for earthquake structure because it doesn't really happen often. And when we design buildings, the British standards are set to design a building to withstand 50 years lifespan.
Right.
So we can't actually design all the buildings to say 10 or 9 or in a Richter scale, because otherwise it'd be economic, you'd be wasting your money. So most engineers or the regulation take the middle view. We can't design to the lower scale, we can't design to the higher scale, because higher scale may happen after 50 years, 100 years, may not happen for 2000 years.
So can we do that? किसी भी reactor पे earthquake आए तो buildings resist कर सकती हूँ?
You can design it, but again, be very, very expensive. So we put different buildings into different scales. For example, hospitals, bridges, naval buildings, anything that the infrastructure would require at the time of the earthquake, we design them to higher density, higher regulations. We would design sort of withstand the Richter scale of 9 or 10 maybe. But the residential building, the low building, we probably take the view, say, look, let's design to 5 or 6, because the other only happens occasionally. Like for California or other places have been waiting for an earthquake for maybe 2,000 years and hasn't happened. So the regulations looks at it, how often does the earthquake happen in specific countries. So it's country by country regulations. And then they look at all the history, when did the last earthquake happen, what the size of it, and how long is the next one predicted. So, for example, the bridges in America or New Zealand or Japan would be designed to move with the earthquakes. It's like a piston within the system itself. So when the earth moves in this direction, then actually the bridge opens in and out without you actually noticing it and without too much damage to the structure.
Okay.
Similarly, the bridges can be designed to move in this direction as well. So the idea now is that majority of the poorer countries, they just do not spend enough money. So if the building is built with just brickwork, masonry building, because they're not tied together, and when it shakes, and the walls fall, everything falls.
Everything collapses. तो इंजीनियर साहब आप क्या समझते हैं कि जो जापान में अब अर्थक्वेक आया, इसमें इंजीनियरिंग वर्क ने कितना काम किया, कितने लोगों को बचा लिया आप समझते हैं?
As far as the earthquake is concerned, I would say that only 5 to 10% of the damage, other than the nuclear stations, because they were more than 40 years old, I don't think they were designed to the regulation that are set now in the world for earthquake.
So you are satisfied with it?
Exactly. 5 to 10% damage most likely is due to the shaking of the earth. 95% of damage and 9% is due to the water coming into the land. And you can't do
anything with the water.
Right. But the reason that Japan is basically situated in the Pacific plate.
Yes.
And normally the average near about 700 earthquake every year in Japan. But that was not more than 3 or 4 points on the Richter scale. But the reason is the tsunami. That is also basically that is Japanese.
ये सुनामी हम आपसे ज़्यादा डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं. ये पहले डॉक्टर साहब से पूछते हैं. डॉक्टर साहब आप क्या समझती हैं कि ये जो रिएक्टर वहाँ पे एटमी रिएक्टर जो उनमें से सारा डिजास्टर शुरू हुआ है, ये ह्यूमन लाइफ पे कितना अफेक्ट करेंगी?
I think that depends on what happens in the next.
It happens. What scale is?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, I think first of all, if there's any country in the world that can deal with this, I think we'd all agree that Japan is one of the top 3. And the people so far have been
Japan
very calm.
is number 1.
Japan, America, Japan
British.
is right at the top in terms of.
What about France? No.
Yeah. Together with European countries. I've been lucky enough, I've been to Japan twice over the last 3 and 4 years, and I have to say, they are probably the most advanced society.